Did I run enough? How far did he run? They'll call my name. It's time. This is for my family. For my name. I must remember that. When the punches come hard and fast. Take a deep breath now. Stay calm. Remember the plan. You're ready. You put the rounds in. There's the lights. I can see the ring. It looks small. That's good for me. Bad for him. That bell rings for me. Let's go. Tonight's my night. I'm the boss.
We are live at the Horseshoe Casino, 20 miles southeast of Chicago in Hammond, Indiana, as Corona Extra presents Friday Night Fights. Some fantastic talent on display tonight as our middleweights get ready to kick off the Boxcino 2014 tournament here at the venue inside the Horseshoe Casino right on the frozen banks of Lake Michigan. Hello everyone, my name is Todd Grisham. Our Boxcino tournament actually kicked off last week with the lightweights. 8 fighters, 4 fights, and all the fights were fantastic. You could sense the urgency from the fighters. It made for great viewing, and we expect the same here tonight with our 8 middleweights. Let's take a look at our middleweight bracket brought to you by 1800 Tequila, a good mix of youth and experience on display. There are 5 Americans, and we have a Ghanaian and a Russian, a Ukraine. We've got a lot of different backgrounds, just like we did last week. And they start tonight with 6 rounders in the quarterfinals. To win that, you advance to the semifinals. Those will be 8-round fights. And then our championship will be a 10-rounder. That'll be on May 23rd in Verona, New York. For more, let's send it ringside to the men that'll be calling the action tonight, Joe Tessitore and Teddy Atlas.
Thank you very much, Todd. Teddy, before we got started last week with the lightweight tournament in Boxcino, you turned to me, you said, partner, 6-round fights will play a huge factor. They did. They played a huge role. You had fighters fighting with urgency, fighting knowing that they would get an instant turnaround and be rewarded advancing in this tournament. We expect the same tonight.
Well, you know, Joe, well put. I mean, so far, what we've seen in this tournament, I think, has been a great mix of many different things. And I think that there's a song that comes to my mind, you know, sometimes songs come to my mind that kind of put it all in perspective. And that would be, I put the lime in the coconut and I mix it all up. I put the lime in the coconut, I drink it all down. And no more, not now, even though I know you're asking for an encore. That'll have to come later. But it speaks to the mix of everything, the mix of talent. We've had some low talent. We've had high talent. We've also had some different ages, some young, some old guys. We've also had some different expectations. Some guys have come in here with low expectations, end of the road. Other guys, top of the world. They're going to be the best. And also experience. Some guys with very little experience. Some guys, a lot of experience. You take all of that and you put it into a tournament format, and you mix it all up, drink it all down, and what do you get? Well, so far, energy, surprises, and fun. So here it is. I'm toasting to all of us. More fun, and maybe more opportunities to sing a couple more songs. And Todd, no, I'm not going to do another verse. No, I know you're calling for it. I hear you from the balcony, but no, not right now.
I want to key in one of the words you used in that mixology of yours there, and that is surprises. Who could surprise us tonight?
You know, first of all, I hope it's a pleasant surprise, not a bad surprise. Ekbeko, you know, he's from Ghana. He's 15-0. He's never fought outside of Ghana. He's 15-0, 15 knockouts. Wow! But the only problem is I think he knocked out the ring announcer 10 times,
right.
And one of them, the ring announcer, might have been ahead at that point. So I don't know if I'm going to see something great or if I'm going to see something exposed, the curtain kind of pulled back from the wizard. But I'm interested. I'm intrigued by that. And also Kopalenko. Kopalenko, I think he's the class of tonight. He's got a terrific, clean, beautiful left hook to the liver. And I'm wondering if he's going to deliver it for you guys.
You mentioned 2 of the 3 undefeated fighters we will see among the 8 in the opening round of Boxcino 160-pound tournament championships. For more on the competitors, here's Bernardo Osuna.
Thank you, Joe. All 8 fighters in this Boxcino middleweight tournament have aspirations of becoming world titleists and feel that winning this tournament will get them closer to their dream. But the inspiration for each one of them is very different. One is doing it for his grandmother, who used to trudge through the snow to take him to the boxing gym. Another for his grandfather, who passed away last September, but not before instilling a true love of boxing in his heart. 2 come from boxing families. 3 of them have college degrees. One is studying to be a chiropractor. Another is an author. And 2 are making their U.S. debut. All in all, plenty of compelling storylines which we'll be bringing to you throughout the night. Todd, up to you.
Thank you, Bernardo. Let's talk about our first fight tonight, where we'll see a seasoned veteran and a young up-and-comer. Daniel, the Haitian sensation Edouard, comes in with 12 years of boxing experience at the professional level, but he hasn't fought in 3 years. He says he's back, wants to win Boxcino to leave a positive legacy for Haitian boxers to look up to. The man he'll be fighting comes out of the Watts neighborhood of Los Angeles. Prospect Brandon Adams, known as the Cannon, says he's been fighting his whole life, and that's translated very well to the pro ranks. He's had 12 professional fights, all of them victories, and said he wants to win our tournament in order to provide for his wife and his future child.
My motivation for me to be a boxer was actually the neighborhood I grew up in. It's pretty tough, the struggle, my family. Growing up in a house with 9 brothers and sisters was always challenging because you didn't know who was going to try to put more food on their plate. If it was leftovers, I'd be up in there sneaking and eating. Hey, get out of there, get out of there. I'd be on top of the counter on my knees, eating out of the plate, eating out of the skillet or whatever it was. I grew up in Watts. It's a little city in Los Angeles. It's also known as the neighborhood. I mean, it was tough, but I didn't know how tough it was. I was living in it. It was always gangs, violence. I almost lost a brother. That was it for me. I saw everything that was happening to him, and I mean, it wasn't happening for me. My mom had 9 kids. Out of the 9 kids, I'm the first one to step out to really try to do anything. I don't want to be just like everybody else. I took up boxing when I turned 17, soon as I got out of high school, and I never looked back. This would be my first television fight in America. Boxing was my first sport, and I plan on it being my last.
Being immortalized in that 2004 Willie Gibbs fight, every fighter wants to have something. And that fight was one thing for me. I felt so disrespected that fight, and I said that I'm gonna make sure they feel my wrath in that ring. Boxing was always bigger for me. It wasn't about me actually boxing. I wanted to leave a legacy of doing something to help. I've motivated and inspired 2, 3 generations of Haitian boxers. I trained so many fighters, and I've trained 2 generations of fighters now, and I'm training these guys. I'm sparring with them, working out with them. Their thing is like, yo, man, why are you not fighting? Fight. Why are you not fighting? In the process of doing that, that the bug did come back. I haven't won in quite some time. So being able to win that opportunity, that experience, and of course, the hopes of getting a world title, I get another opportunity to actually walk in that dream.
All right, so here we go. As Teddy Atlas so eloquently put it, it's time to find out who's the lime and who's the coconut. Down to Joe Tessitore.
Thank you, Todd, as we are getting underway here. Opening fight of Boxcino's middleweight tournament. We will start with Brandon Adams, 24-year-old, 5'9", came in at 160.8, 12-0, 8 knockouts, unbeaten, but inexperienced. You heard him talk about being conscious of the fact that it's his first fight on TV, the tough upbringing in Watts, the least experienced fighter in Boxcino, only the 12 fights. And he's opposite Daniel Edouard, the Haitian sensation, back from retirement, was out of action for 3 years, well-experienced middleweight, had that fight of the year type fight back in 2004, an all-time classic on our air against Willie Gibbs. Now 33 years old, comes in with a mark of 23-4-2. with 12 knockouts. Teddy, it's time to see what the fighters need to do to look like a champion. Brought to you by Just for Men.
Well, let's start with the line. I'll make Adams the line. He hasn't fought in over 3 years. Jump on him early. And Edward, if you're going to collect some coconuts tonight, be alert early. Get your legs under you and land right hand.
Remember, 6-round fights here in the quarterfinals of Boxcino, and Kurt Spivey is our referee.
Okay, guys, we've already seen your direction of the dressing room. Obey all commands. Protect yourself at all times. Touch gloves. Back to your corner. Good. Fighter ready? Ready? Let's go, guys.
Last fight for Daniel Edward was January 2011 against Peter Manfredo Jr. Lost a 10-round decision.
And, you know, he said after that fight that if he lost that fight, he would retire. And he was good to his word until now. He was gone 3 years and 1 month, and something changed his mind. And maybe it was something called the Boxcino tournament. He's lost his last 2 fights, Edward. I thought he had a look of a, I'm not going to use the word shot, but definitely a shot-worn fighter at the end of his career, or what looked like was the end of his career 3 years ago, last time he was in the ring. His legs didn't look good, but we'll see whether or not that time away has revived him at all. I remember somebody named Evander Holyfield many years ago. Looked like a shot fighter, fought Bobby Ches, and everybody had kind of written him off, and he came back and had a pretty good second career. I don't know if you can say the same for Edward, but we'll see how he does tonight.
Just before we got underway here, you said Brandon Adams, one of the keys would be to jump on Edward early. We haven't seen that.
No, we haven't. And he's not taking advantage of the fact that Edward has a lot of rust to deal with.
Instead, it's Edward landing a short right hand on the inside.
Edward in his career, he's just taken a lot of punishment throughout that career. He's always been a game guy, but he has been knocked out 2 times. With much more experience is Edward. But the question again, what does he have left? And that is the question. Because Adams, really, Edward's in a decent spot for a guy who's been away 3 years, if there's such a thing as a decent spot. Adams only 6 amateur fights, and Adams 9 years younger at 24 years of age. This is the first fight not on the West Coast for Adams. All his fights have been in California, Mexico, and Washington State. So new terrain for him. And the heaviest weight for Adams, Joe, in over 2 years.
How about the fact that Adams, talk about the inexperience, he's the only fighter in this tournament who hasn't gone 6 full rounds, and he's never been past the full 4-round distance in this early stage of his career.
That's going to matter if the pace picks up and Edward uses his experience, if he has legs to do it, uses his experience to pick up that pace. Make Adams think a little bit about what you just said.
You can log on to Facebook, the Friday Night Fights Facebook page, and judge this round as well as all the fights tonight. Going to take a short break. Be right back. ESPN Friday Night Fights is presented by Corona Extra, who invites you to find your beach. And in part by True Biotics, a daily probiotic that helps support digestive and immune health. And Taco Bell, sometimes you gotta live Moss. We're at the Horseshoe Casino, just outside Chicago in Hammond, Indiana, for Boxcino's middleweight tournament. Our first bout tonight, first of 4 6-rounders. Here in quarterfinal action, Daniel Edward and Brandon Adams. And Adams may have had a big missed opportunity there in that first round. Not that Edward did much of anything, but the rust, knowing he's coming off the 3-year layoff, not jumping on him right away.
And you let a guy like Edward, who Here's a more experienced guy who's 33 years old who retired after his last fight. Now he's coming back. You let him get confidence. You let him think, hey, this young kid isn't that much. And one of the reasons why I think, and I said earlier, that Edouard is in a good spot, if you can be in a good spot after being away 3 years, is, well, you look at Adams, you look at the record of his opponent. You talk about soft opposition. 7 of his 12 opponents, Joe, had losing records. And as like I said, Adams only 6 amateur fights and a lot more amateur fights in the background of Edouard. Edouard had 86 of the amateur experience.
And to that point with Adams and the level of competition, I think that's something that can be thematic throughout this Boxcino tournament of, with some of these undefeated fighters, uncovering exactly who they are based on the competition they faced. We saw it last week with an African fighter that went out early. We could see more of that tonight with 3 unbeatens we have on this card.
Yeah, in other words, what you're saying, plain and simple, is, you know, you could see some guys rise to the occasion and say, hey, there's somebody to watch. And that's what we're hoping the fans get to see. But you also get to see some guys exposed.
Right. Boy, that was the case last week in our final bout when Nikwe was quickly exited in the second round of the lightweight tournament. Here the 160-pounders fighting in a very small ring. We measured this ring out at 16 feet 4 inches here at the Horseshoe Casino.
Yeah, the promoter's trying to make action by making a small ring, and right now Adams making action by going to the body, maybe the old body, and maybe the old legs of Edouard are going to start to show.
Tremendous surge of offensive blows to the body by Brandon Adams. He went with a series of left and rights and even got an uppercut in the mix there.
I think it suddenly occurred, as it occurred to us, to Adams, that, hey, a slow pace can only help Edouard. At 24 years of age, 9 years younger, I have to pick it up. You have to hit the gas pedal a little bit here. Otherwise, I'm feeding right into what Edouard not only wants, but probably needs at this point in his life.
There's a good left hook combination there by the 12-0 Brandon Adams. Stepped up the pace here.
Yeah, Edouard trying to use that experience, grab a little bit, slow him down a little. You know, if you're going to have a plane takeoff, you need a runway. Well, if you're going to go to the body, you need your opponent against the ropes. Adams saw that, and he went to work. Nice left hook behind the elbow. That's the key there, Joe. Good eyes by Adams, the younger man. He saw the opening was in the back of the elbow, not in the front. He aimed it there.
Brandon Adams, the 24-year-old from Southern California, came in 12-0 to this tournament with 8 knockouts. Actually had some pre-fight quotes where he viewed himself as a big underdog heading in here.
Well, not tonight, but maybe for the rest of the tournament, that could be true. But not when you're fighting a guy who hasn't fought in 3 years. Shouldn't be the underdog, should be the favorite. As a matter of fact, my man, Bill Krackenberger, the great handicapper in Las Vegas, let me know that Las Vegas had the odds of Adams minus 350.
Makes sense. Crackman coming up with those odds there. Is Adams the fresher, younger fighter in the midst of his career against the trying to shake the rust off of Daniel Edouard.
Well, you're younger, and in this case, Adams also just full of more energy, a little quicker. Not only with his hands, but with his feet.
Just showed that moments ago. So he was able to get away from the counter attempt from Edouard.
You know, what's incredible about Edouard is that he comes in 160 pounds tonight. He's off for over 3 years, Joe, and he comes back 2 pounds less than the last time he was in the ring. That's almost amazing to me, but it tells you he takes good care of himself. He doesn't fool around or dissipate outside the ring, and he was probably not that far away from a gym.
His last fight, we told you, was January 2011. Brandon Adams' first fight was March of 2011, 2 months later.
Watch your head, guys. Watch your head.
And the highlight of Edouard's career was that war he had with Willie Gibbs. We called that fight in August of 2004. If you told me 10 years later we would be calling a Daniel Edouard fight, I'd tell you you're crazy. But here he is. And here we still are.
Yes, we are.
So who's crazy?
Thanks to the fans.
Exactly.
Hopefully he must be doing something right. And right now, what Adams
There's
is
another
doing
left
right,
hand to the body.
Yeah, Adams is doing something right. He's going to the body again. That older body, put a little pressure on. I'd be looking to apply more pressure if I'm Adams. You have an old car in front of you that hasn't been brought out on the highway for a long time, hasn't had an oil change for a long time. Well, don't let it go 40 miles an hour. Get it up to 60, 70, and then see if that car starts to break down.
Welcome back to Friday Night Fights. Our next Boxcino middleweight bout will feature Sina Egbeko taking on Ray Gatica. And Egbeko said that his first memories of boxing are waking up at 2 in the morning to watch a Zuma Nelson fight. He wants to inspire kids in his homeland to do the same thing for his fights. On the other hand, his opponent, Ray Gatica, he used to be a bully as a kid. His brother and his father took him into the gym, and that calmed him down and changed his life. He tried to leave boxing several times, but he said boxing would not leave him, and that's why he's back in the ring once again, looking to fulfill that dream of being a champion. Joe Teddy, it's time for some more action.
Thank you, Bernie. Gatica Egbeko coming up next here in our Boxcino middleweight tournament. Egbeko's another good example of what we were discussing earlier of what will we have in front of us, because he's a Ghanaian fighter, comes over from Accra, his first fight in the USA, and you look through his line by line and you can see what an easy road he had fighting back at home in Africa. We'll see what he offers up tonight. Round number 4, 6 rounders in the quarterfinal opening round of Boxcino. Last 2 rounds, Adams in control. Dominated that second round with the body work. Much closer first round, where Edouard landed that one right hand. Facebook fans see it exactly the same way that Teddy sees it, 2 rounds to 1.
I like what I've seen with Adams a little bit. For a guy without a lot of amateur pedigree, 24 years old, look, maybe he's got the right guy in front of him. We've talked about that already, but you got to do the job. And so far, he showed me some versatility, some different dimensions.
There's a good left hook. He timed it perfectly, and Edouard went down hard.
6, 7, 8. Yep. Hands up. Walk towards me. You ready to go? Ready?
And remember now those old legs and all the weathering of the past. Can he sustain and hold up and survive this?
Well, I was just mentioning the different dimensions that I like about Adams. One of them was his counter-punching ability. That was a nice counter, well-timed left hook that put Edouard on the floor. I like a guy that thinks in there. Doesn't just bring it, but brings it at the right time. Brandon showing you, Adams showing you a good mix of those qualities. An intellect to go with some physical ability. Now I think it's time, though, for Adams to push the pedal to the metal a little bit more. And this is where you get a peek, a portal into a guy. What is he? Is he a finisher? Or is he a guy that's satisfied to just go rounds? Right now, Adams putting a vote in the survival column a little bit. Like, not really, not yet showing the finishing sort of eye of the tiger to him.
2 times Edouard has been TKO'd in his career. Jermaine Taylor did it all the way back in 2005. Aramaseli Albert did it in 2007. Let's listen in to the corner of Edouard and show you what happened moments ago.
Huh? You want to go no more? Nah? All right, then that's it. It's over. Don't worry about it. Take your minute, but we're going to stop it, all right? All right, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You know how it feels or you don't, you know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah, here. Ref.
Here comes the stoppage. Listen closely.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Good? You sure? All right.
So you heard it moments ago as Edouard came in and said, I have no more.
Nice left hook there, timed well.
That wasn't the best replay. We'll get another look at it. Get another shot at this left hook here. There it is. Steps in. He knew he could step in. He knew that he read Edwards' eyes. Edwards' eyes were off on the wrong direction a little bit. And what did he do? Adams used those quick legs, and he jumped right in.
Don't worry about that.
And it's a TKO victory in the opening round of Boxcino for Brandon Adams, who stays unbeaten. As Daniel Edward went back to the stool, consulted with his trainer, Lou Martinez. Martinez asked him how he was feeling. He said, I don't have anything left. We're not going to continue. And at 33 years old, attempting to come back after 3 years off, that is it for Edward. After he took that big left hand, went down, survived the rest of the round, but knew he had had enough.
Adams, after that first round, a lackadaisical round, maybe a fill-out round, you know, even though he had a 33-year-old guy who hadn't been around for 3 years, you still have to look at him. He looked at him, and then he saw what he saw. He saw what we saw, and he stepped it up and got rid of him.
And this was Curt Spivey as he went over after getting the attention from Lou Martinez, and Martinez informing him that that was enough. Let's send it up to the ring to Ray Flores.
Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Edward could not answer the bell for the start of the 5th round for your winner by technical knockout. And moving on to the semifinals of the Boxcino 2014 middleweight tournament, Brandon "The Cannon" Adams.
So one of the undefeateds has passed on through to the semifinals. Brandon Adams, the 24-year-old who grew up in Watson, LA, coming here to advance his career, and he does so with a TKO victory over Daniel Edward. Sina Egbeko, 15-0 with 15 knockouts, is next up, taking on Raymond Gatica, as Boxcino on Friday Night Fights moves forward after this.
And welcome back into Friday Night Fights. One fight down in the books. Big win for Brandon Adams. He advances to our semifinals with a technical knockout victory. Now it's time for our second fight, and it is between Sina Egbeko and Ray Gatica. Egbeko is a 2-year pro with a 15-0 record, 15 knockouts. He comes out of Ghana. In fact, he's the Ghanaian middleweight champion. As for Gatica, he's a southpaw out of Austin, Texas. He gets his motivation from his 2 children and his boxing knowledge from his father and brother, who were fighters before him and now train him.
I've tried to leave boxing before, you know, have the normal life, but it's not in me to do that. This is my life. This is what's in me. I've understood that I'm not gonna leave boxing, even if I try. It's a part of me. It runs in my family. You know, a lot of my family members were fighters. It won't leave me alone, and I won't leave it alone. I'm sticking with boxing. Having my brother and my father in my corner, it's great. They've known me since I was a child, you know, so they've got to raise me in this sport. They know what I'm capable of and what I need to work on. I'm a family person. First time I quit boxing, I came back because my son was gonna be born. The second time I came back was my daughter being born. They're 2 blessings. I wouldn't have gotten where I am without them. This is what I'm doing for them. This is my life, so it's their life. That's why I'm working hard for them.
As a young man growing up in Ghana, I didn't think at a certain point that I would become a boxer. You know, I was the typical school guy. My parents expected me to, you know, go through school, just finish, get a good job, you know, and keep up with life that way. But You know, along the line, senior high, I decided I wanted something more challenging, you know, something more exciting. So I decided to go into boxing. Boxing has provided so much excitement to my life, and there's so much, you know, potential, so many things that I could achieve. If I were to win this title, personally, it would mean a lot to me because it's a dream that I set out to accomplish, you know, years back. I believe that boxing, you know, gives you the ultimate challenge, and you know, when you overcome those challenges, it gives you the satisfaction of the ultimate glory. Coming from where I come from, Africa, it's natural that a lot of people wouldn't know, you know, a lot about me. I think the best way for the American public to find out about me is to watch me tonight, watch me in action, and then decide for themselves whether I'm really worthy of being on television, and I'm going to leave it all in the ring.
He's 15-0. Will Sina Ekbeko's hype balloon continue to grow, or will it be popped tonight by Ray Gatica? Let's send it down to Joe and Teddy and find out.
Well, Boxcino had a way of popping that balloon last week in the lightweight tournament with an undefeated with a similar background. Let's see if Ray Gatica can do that job. As you see birthday wishes for his little nephew in the background there. Gatica, 29 years old, 5'9", came in at 158.4, 13-2 mark. A lot of inactivity in his career. He's had some major layoffs, 3 fights into his most recent comeback. He returned in April 2013 after 3 years away. And here is the undefeated Sina Ekbeko, 22 years old, fighting out of Tennessee now, but he's from Accra, Ghana, 15-0. 15 knockouts, the question mark with the competition. Teddy, let's go old school with your take on the checklist.
Well, let's start with Ekbeko, and you're right. I have a lot of questions about that opposition that he's been in there with, and my chart might show that. First of all, he gets the advantage. He's the bigger man. But that's where maybe, we'll see, where the advantage stops. Quality of opposition, that's been Gatica. And as far as style, well, Gatica's southpaw, and he's unorthodox. You got to deal with that. And as far as professional experience, again, put a check in Gatica. Much longer career in years, even though both have the same amount of fights. And as far as travel, well, the first fight ever in the United States for Ekbeko and for Gatica, all his fights have been in the good old USA.
Here is going to be fair. Don't let it go between here. When I say break, both of you, quick punch and take a step back. All right, that's close. Good luck.
And that's Bill Page, referee for Gatica and Ekbeko. 6-round bouts here in the opening round of Boxcino, the middleweight tournament of Boxcino, as Brandon Adams has advanced with a TKO in our opening fight. Now Gatica against the undefeated Ekbeko.
Let me jump to one thing right away. The record of Ekbeko and why I have doubts about it. Talk about soft competition, actually maybe less than soft, almost liquid. 8 of Ekbeko's opponents did not have a single win.
Oh, he got caught there. As they're swinging away, and he gets right back at Gatica. Good action to open up this fight.
A good straight left hand from the southpaw would serve him very well right now, because straight beats round.
Let go of his hand. Straight.
And everything from Ekbeko, and almost everything from Gatica has been round. But the power punch for Gatica, the confidence punch for Gatica is the left hand.
Let go of his hand.
Remember, Gatica's been in fights. I know they've both been in fights, but Gatica's been in real fights. Although he's really wide, too.
Boy, he was extra wide right there, but Ekbeko didn't make him pay the price at all.
Yeah, both these guys could use some teaching in the gym as far as throwing straight punches. There was a straight one, the one I talked about, the left one from Gatica, his power punch from the southpaw position.
Just has the look of a fight where somebody's going to get clipped with some of this sloppiness here.
Yeah, talk about sloppy. Ekbeko, you know, the first thing you think when you see 15-0, 15 knockouts, is it real or is it a mirage? Well, I don't see a great punch in Ekbeko right now. I think most of it's been the kind of guys he's been knocking out, because I saw a left hook of Ekbeko's a moment ago, Joe, and it was a slap. Hasn't been taught how to turn it over. There it is again, you see it, a cuff. He's hitting with the wrist part of the glove rather than the fist part of the glove, not turning that left hook over. Again, you see that slapping left hook of Agbeko. That's not a power punch. That's an arm punch. And again, those 15 knockouts been generated by 15 very soft opponents.
Some blood coming from the nose of Ray Gatica.
Break. Let it go. Box.
If I'm in the corner of Gatica, I'm really going to pump him up.
Let go of the glove.
I'm going to be
Lose the
smart
glove,
about it,
man.
but I'm going to say, listen, this guy's not much. You know, the best thing about him is his record. Go get the man now.
Watch your hand. Break.
Go to the Friday Night Fights Facebook page and score along with Teddy throughout this Boxcino middleweight tournament.
One thing that I've seen from Gatica that's very dangerous. He jumps in, he reaches in like that. Who'd you like?
Heidi reminds us that Friday Night Fights is presented by Corona Extra as we get set for round 2 between the unbeaten Agbeko and that man, Ray Gatica. You mentioned the lack of technique from Agbeko. Saw those wide open slapping left hooks in that first round. Straight left that landed flush from Gatica as well in that opening round. Round 2 scheduled for 6 here. 6-round quarterfinal matchups in Boxcino.
If Gatica doesn't get caught jumping in, he just got away with jumping in.
Look at how wide they are.
He's got a good shot to continue to expose Mr. Agbeko. Now let's put things straight here. I'm not saying Gatica's that great technically. I mean, he's got plenty of holes in his game too.
Keep him up. That was very low. Get him
There's
up.
a warning from Bill Page.
And when you got guys free swinging with no control over their punches, guess what? Some are going to go north, south of the border, and maybe west and east. The referee better be alert.
And he could be in the line of fire.
Yeah, you're not kidding. An uppercut might not be a bad choice for Agbeko if he has one in his arsenal, because I see Gatica starting to lean forward from that waist, where you can't see the punches coming if they're coming from underneath.
So many arm punches by the African.
Turn loose, Evans. Turn loose. Lose the glove. Break. Listen to me. Box.
Off balance on the inside that time. And slips that.
Yeah, he slips because his footing is bad, because he jumps in. He's lucky it wasn't a punch coming at him.
Now he comes with an uppercut as he tried to just get right into the pocket there.
Yeah, right about now, you think maybe Agbeko maybe is thinking, I wish I had fought some better guys than the ring announcer 10 times. And the bellman in a couple of hotels.
His first fight in the U.S. after meeting up on that soft competition back home.
And I'm not talking about, I'm not knocking bellmen. You know, when I say knocked out a couple of bellmen, but at least fight some tough bellmen.
Let's go. Box.
That body looks pretty inviting to me, that body of Agbeko. Gatica could aim a left hand down there. It's a long, lean body.
There he went to the body. Not much behind it. Tried to chase him upstairs on the back end of it.
Joe, do your kids play hopscotch? It looks like Gatica's playing hopscotch here. Look at his legs. I mean, amazing. You talk about bad footing. I mean, he looked like he was jumping into a puddle.
Teddy, I wish my kids played hopscotch. They don't play anything that doesn't cost me about 60 to 100 pop.
I've been there already. Been there, done that. And it was great, too.
Round 3 here between Agbeko and Gatika, as Brandon Adams has already advanced himself, and one of these two men is trying to meet up with Adams, the undefeated fighter from Southern California, in the semifinals, who I would, just on first glance early on here, tell you, even with his inexperience, would be favored over either one of these gentlemen.
I would second and third that. A lot of guys would be favorites over these gentlemen. Taking nothing away from their grit, their heart. They get in the ring, but their talent levels and their approach with their talent, their technique, something to be desired there.
A little more pressure and output from Gatika here in the opening minute of round 3. There was an uppercut that was just off the mark from Agbeko.
Now remember, Agbeko's never been in a real fight. People say, Teddy, what are you talking about? He's got 15 fights. Never been in a real fight. I'll say it again.
3-punch combination from the Texan. Agbeko tries to return fire.
Yeah, return fire again. Not with what you might expect if you were looking at the record. Arm punches. Not what you would think, or those TNT punches that the record would tell you, or at least suggest to you.
There's a left hand that landed to the head of the African. 15-0 he came in, but will he be exposed here in the midst of this 6-rounders? Gatika is gaining confidence throughout this 3rd round. There's another left hand that reigns in.
Well, no matter what happens from this point, I answer your question. Joe, Agbeko has been exposed.
Undoubtedly. And he's taken shot after shot here against the ropes. Wobbly legs, his head going back, trying to get out of the way of this assault from Gatika.
A well-played punch to the body might not be a bad idea for Gatika. Agbeko dead and straight up. That body is also right there. Long and lean. Right now, Agbeko's just trying to survive, trying to grab, trying to fall in.
Did Gatika punch himself out here?
I think he was punched out when he got in the ring.
Trying to split the guard now, a series of left hands and a sweeping right hook that was just a glancing blow.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were saying that Agbeko punched himself out. No, Gatika a little winded, no doubt about it. He's going to have to recover a little bit in that corner, but he will. He's
still
the
a
boss right
dominating
now.
effort here.
Welcome back to Friday Night Fights. Cerezo Fort will be facing Vitaly Kopelenko in the next fight. We talked about his inspiration, and it's Miss Pearl O'Grady. Talk to me about what it means to see your grandson coming back home to fight after all you've been through.
We feel good. We feel good about coming back, because this is where his family on his mother's side live. And he got cousins and uncles and auntie. He know a lot of people in Chicago, you know. This is where he was born at, you know. That's what, when he started going to school, you know, from here, from Chicago. And I think he feel pretty good about coming back.
She used to walk him through the snow to the gym every day, and now he's on Friday Night Fights.
Cerezo Fort will be in action in our next opening bout.
You know, you asked a good question last round. You said, did Gatika punch himself out? And my answer is going to say he looked a little winded, but I'm going to say no. Because when you're the one throwing, and you're the one landing, and you're the one having the fun, guess what? You never punch yourself out. You always find energy. And Gatika has that energy.
Control here in the early moments of round 4 as he continues with the offensive assault.
You never get
against
tired.
Agbeko.
You never get tired, Joe, when you're the one that's landed and the other guy's standing there.
This may get a stoppage here, Teddy.
Oh, yeah, a body punch is going to help bring it on, too.
Uppercut reigns in. Bill Page is giving it a look. Will the referee jump in here as Agbeko is barely defending himself? It's over. Raymond Gatika has advanced in Boxcino.
Yeah, Gatika pulled that curtain back. And guess what? There was no wizard there. Just a guy that had a good record.
So another TKO victory in this middleweight tournament as Gatica will advance to face Brandon Adams. He hurt him badly in the third round, continued to pour it on, and then he hit the gas pedal to start the fourth.
Happy birthday, Daddy! Oh, there it is. I mean, you don't need me to tell you what's going on. Gatica just letting his hands go. He's got a man in front of him who's hurt the last round, completely out of the fight, just standing there taking, waiting for the referee to do his job. Gatica did his. The referee stepped in and mercifully stopped the fight.
Bill Page was looking for Agbeko to show him something, to defend himself. Here was that uppercut. And you can see the force of it even going through the glove of Agbeko. Came in 15-0. And obviously all that limited competition caught up with him in his first fight in the U.S. And Gatica, who had many long layoffs, the inactivity in his career, returned in April 2013 for the first time in over 3 years, and now comes up with this televised win in Boxcino 160. Let's go up to the ring to Ray.
Ladies and gentlemen, our referee in charge, Bill Page, waves off this contest at 1 minute, 6 seconds of the fourth round for your winner by way of technical knockout. And moving on to the semifinals of the Boxcino 2014 middleweight tournament, Ray Lino Gatica.
14th win in the career of Ray Gatica. As we are halfway through the quarterfinals of the middleweight Boxcino tournament, let's show you the updated brackets as one of the semifinals is now set. It'll be California's Brandon Adams against the Texan Ray Gatica. That'll be April 18th at Turning Stone in upstate New York. Adams and Gatica. Adams 13-0. Agbeko came in 15-0, but now suffers the first loss of his career. Top half of the bracket when we return. 22-0 Vitaly Kapelenko taking on Cereso Fort, born right here in Chicago. He returns home. More Boxcino when we come back to the Horseshoe.
Welcome back into the Horseshoe Casino on the banks of Lake Michigan. Friday Night Fights is brought to you by Corona Extra. With Agbeko's loss here tonight, the country of Ghana is now 0-3 in our Boxcino tournament. 2 losses last week in our lightweight division, which began with the quarterfinals. In case you missed it, it was some outstanding stuff. Let's take a look back at our first round highlights from the lightweight Boxcino tournament, brought to you by 1800 Tequila. Boxcino 2014.
There's that uppercut, Teddy. Put two of them together. Mendoza fills that space with a left hand and a right uppercut. Down to the wire. Who wants it more?
Gonzalez.
Oh, and he caught him going back, didn't run, and he sends back Amadou. A draw after 6 rounds. Tournament style, we go to a single draw breaker.
That right hand landing by Petrov is hurting Papazov here. The undefeated Papazov might not be undefeated much longer.
Petrov.
Body shot scored a knockdown. Oh, and he caught him again. Nikwe does not look good at all. He could finish him here. He's going to get rid of him. TKO victory. Arcamo. What a statement to finish off the quarterfinals of Boxcino.
All right, here's the bracket now for our lightweight division, 135 pounders. Chris Rudd, the American, with the biggest upset in the first round. He'll be taking on Russia's Peter Petrov, who beat a fellow Russian in the first round. And then Miguel Gonzalez won the battle of Miguel's. And he'll be squaring off against a very impressive Fernando Carcamo, who knocked out his Ghanaian opponent very early in that fight. Those are your semifinals. They'll be held at the end of March in North Dakota. I'll be doing blow-by-blow for those fights. Can't wait for that. Coming up now, our third fight here in the middleweight division. It sees a Ukrainian making his U.S. debut. Vitaly Kopalenko is 21-0 as a pro, and he also has an extensive amateur background in both boxing and kickboxing. He'll be taking on Ceriso Fort, who was born right here in Chicago, but now fights out of Minnesota. He can't wait to fight back in front of his former hometown fans.
People ask me, like, how you feel, you never had your mom in your life, your dad like that. But, I wouldn't have it no other way because, being alone make you strong. And it made me the strong person I am today. My mother being young, having me, she wasn't in a position to actually take care of me but I'm thankful that she put me into the hands of my grandmother. My grandmother, she's been there for me, she sheltered me. She's my angel. Growing up in Chicago, it was rough, I had to walk to school, and sometimes I'd step on the back of somebody's shoe, and then he'd get upset, it'd be a fist fight right then and there. The guy may be like 5 years older than me, and I would stand my ground and fight. I was used to fighting guys in Chicago that was bigger than me. So I'm like, now I get to fight guys my same weight, got a referee, it's almost like I'm cheating, but I got, it's legit. I just fell in love with the sport from that point on. I watched boxing, and I seen a lot of guys that paved the way for me. I'm watching, and learning the art. Stole my heart at a young age, and what it gave me was a lot of discipline to get what I got to get and what I want in boxing, which is a world title.
Мне нравится этот вид спорта, я занимаюсь уже давно, с 98-го года, поэтому я люблю этот спорт. Вот и все, Боксирую в турнире, потому что это для меня честь боксировать на этом турнире. И какая цель? Цель выиграть его. У меня всегда присутствует волнение, в плане не в том, что там трусости или еще чего-то, а у меня волнение в том, чтобы хорошо выйти, отбоксировать, показать хороший бокс. Для меня это очень большой шанс боксировать в дальнейшем за титул победы, когда я выиграю его на этом турнире.
We've had two fights tonight. Both of them have been stopped early. Will we see our third knockout of the night? Let's find out. We go ringside with Joe and Teddy.
Todd, you never know what you're going to see ringside with us. Like this here at the Horseshoe Casino. We're down here at ringside. You can actually play blackjack while watching the fights. Now, we've done a lot of fights through the years, Teddy, and a lot of casinos. That's a first. Blackjack table ringside here at the Horseshoe in Hammond, Indiana.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of fighters that, they've been breaking.
Well, here's the big gamble here for Ceriso Fort. Can he advance? He's here in Chicago until he was 10 years old. Fights out of Minnesota, 27 years old now, 17-2-1 with 11 knockouts, 5'11", 158.4. And he's taken on the Ukrainian unbeaten, making his U.S. debut in this fight. Vitaly Kopalenko, 30 years old, 6 foot, right at 160, 22-0, 12 knockouts. Naturally a left-hander, but fights in the orthodox stance. Teddy, what's your take here between the undefeated Kopalenko and Fort?
Well, let's see if I can get this right. The last chart was kind of on the button.
Sure was.
See who has the edge here. Kopalenko starts off with confidence, mental state. Hey, hasn't learned how to lose yet. And Fort, he was knocked out in his last fight. Body attack, I love it. Kopalenko, good left hook to the liver. Professional experience, first fight in the U.S. for Kopalenko. Fort, better opposition. And all his fights in the good old USA. And technique, no contact. Kopalenko, sharp, concise punching. everything is roundhouse. You like roundhouse? Did you like the last one with the wide punches? Or you're going to like Ford's punches? They're wide.
Good luck.
Kurt Spivey, the referee. 6 rounds has been the case now for 2 straight weeks of Boxcino's quarterfinal action.
Ready?
We have yet to see a decision tonight. Back-to-back TKOs to start the night as we are underway with the Ukrainian against the
Get ready for
U.S.
wide
fighter
punches.
here.
Get ready for USA wide punches. And Ford coming in a tough spot here, knocked out in his last fight. How do you get rid of those bats in the belfry, those bad thoughts, those haunting images that are up in the attic? It's up to Kovalenko not to let Ford get rid of them. And one way Kovalenko can do it, or one way is with a body punch, the other way is with a straight right hand. Right down the middle when Ford throws one of those wide shots. I'll tell you another thing we haven't seen so far tonight. Hopefully we don't see it, but there's a chance we see it. A headbutt. Kovalenko, technical win his last fight. He was cut by a head clash under his left eye, and as far as Ford goes, he's been involved in headbutts. Cut over both eyes his last fight by head clashes. Has been cut a couple of times in fights from head clashes.
Kovalenko was able to place that right hand behind the jab moments ago. Unsteady feet there as he just caught him.
Yeah, you know what he caught him with? A straight punch, a straight jab, right down the middle.
Ford's legs took a wobble halfway through this first round. And he's got that wide base. It was a jab that hurt him again, Teddy.
Yeah, it's from the shoulder. He's setting his feet, and he's making it sort of a ramrod, a pole like you would use to get in a door. Actually, to knock a door down. Well, he's using that kind of poleaxing straight left hand to get to Ford.
As you said, you always have to wonder how a fighter reacts after he's been stopped.
It's all about the sweet spot. And what I mean by that is you time that jab just at the right time, and you could nail a guy like Ford right down the middle. And again,
his legs aren't good at all.
Well, I didn't think this would go fast, or far, I should say. I thought, as I said earlier, that Kovalenko, well, he's just better than Ford. His technique is better, and he doesn't waste much, Kovalenko. You know,
no, he's the tightest, most sound fighter we've seen so far
yeah, he is.
tonight.
And there's that jab again, right down the middle at the sweet spot, right at the right time. And there's a left hook to the body. But Kovalenko always in position. I like his balance. I like his approach. I like the way he controls range. He's always aware when he's in, when he's out of range. And again, I like the conciseness of his punches.
We're going to take a very short break, come back, and show you some of the damage that's been done to Ford. As always, Friday Night Fights is presented by Corona Extra, as Friday Night Fights in the midst of the Boxcino middleweight tournament with Vitaly Kovalenko, 22-0 in
Who says
control.
you can't hurt a guy with a jab? Well, Kovalenko definitely doesn't say that. Again, look at the feet set. Don't look just at the jab. The feet are set, and that jab is being shot right from the shoulder. So that's a power punch. It's a punch that you're not seeing. You don't see it, you get hurt by it.
Fight.
Oh, and the second round starts right where the first left off.
6, 7, 8. Hands up, walk towards me. Walk
Hard to
towards me.
believe Ford can survive 2 minutes and 42 seconds of this.
He won't.
He's off balance still.
Yeah, he's got terrible balance because his technique is horrible. Not to mention that he's been hurt already. And
right hand comes in.
And as I thought, this should be an easy night for Kovalenko, and it's an easy night so far.
6.
I think Kurt Spivey, the ref, has to just look in the eyes here, and he's going to get an easy answer. That's it. There is your answer. TKO victory for the now 23-0 Vitaly Kovalenko.
To me, Kovalenko is probably the favorite, at least for me, to win this tournament. not because of what he did to Ford. I expected that. I thought it would be a one-sided night. And unfortunately, I didn't think Ford should be in. Oh, he should be in with a guy like Kovalenko. And in a tournament where he's going to be pressed with some talent. But Kovalenko does the job the right way. Always in position, always set, always balanced, always straight, pure punches, and always his eye on the target.
Opening moments of the second round.
Yeah, again, it's the jab. You know, he noticed that. He saw that. Give him credit, Kovalenko. He saw that early in the fight in the first round, that the jab would work for him. He saw the sweet spot. He saw the opening for it right down the middle. Look, he sets his feet right down the middle, and it's not the punch that does the damage. It's where the punch lands. That right on the tip of the chin of Ford does the damage.
Obviously, he had clear advantages in skill and technique, just the better overall fighter, and a young man making his U.S. debut, a Ukrainian fighter, Teddy, and we were talking before we went on the air today, his home country in the midst of political unrest back home as the former Ukrainian president fled the capital a week ago tonight. Reports of Russian armed forces coming into his home country this afternoon, and here he is staying focused and acting like a professional, going out and doing his job tonight while things are obviously troubled back home.
Yeah, exactly, and those are the qualities that carry you. I'm not saying Kovalenko is going to be a champion. I think he's got a good chance of being a champion of this particular tournament. But those are the qualities, not just the physical qualities or abilities, but the mental, the emotional qualities that carry you if you're going to get to a title. Being able to put things aside and focus no matter what is going around you, even turmoil, as you said very well, even things back home where people close to you could be at peril, that you're able to put that all aside at the moment you get in the ring, the moment you get into your workplace, and go to work.
What do you say we make it official with Ray Flores?
Boxing fans, the end comes at 43 seconds of the second round. A referee in charge, Kurt Spivey, waves off the contest for your winner, and now advancing to the 2014 semifinals Boxcino tournament, Vitaly Kovalenko.
Most impressive middleweight we've seen so far tonight. 3 fights in Boxcino's middleweight tournament here on Friday Night Fights. 3 TKO victories as Vitaly Kovalenko has advanced to the April 18th semifinals. That'll be right here on Friday Night Fights. Stay with us, more to come.
ESPN's Friday Night Fights is presented by Corona Extra. It's brought to you by Verizon. Starting now, you're getting more on the all-new More Everything plan. It's powerful. And Rent-A-Center. With the Rack Flex plan, you can get a flexible payment with no credit check. We're in Hammond, Indiana at the Horseshoe Casino. That is Chicago, the Windy City, across Lake Michigan, about 20 miles from here. Before we get to our 4th and final Boxcino middleweight tournament fight of the night, let's take a walk down boxing history lane. 50 years ago, this week, a young Muhammad Ali, then known as Cassius Clay, shocked the world by beating Sonny Liston and becoming the world heavyweight champion. It was a night that changed boxing history forever.
I'm young, I'm handsome, I'm fast, I'm pretty, and can't possibly be beat.
You might be young and handsome, but you won't be after I finish with you.
I'm feeling great. I'm ready to go to war right now.
If they put a mouthpiece in his mouth where he can't talk, I'm gonna kill him.
Well, 100% will be coming to see me, but 99% will be coming to see me get beat.
You really feel that?
Because they think I talk too much.
Liston thought he was crazy, essentially. He thought the act was the act of a crazy man, and that's what frightened Liston.
Annihilation is on. Let's get it on. I don't have to tell you about my strategy.
Cassius Clay is fined $2,500 for his conduct on platform.
Cassius Clay managed to convince Sonny Liston that he was crazy.
Want to go now? I'll look you there.
The crowd ain't big enough yet.
Paul Collins was so scared, he couldn't even walk.
Tough guys are afraid of guys that are a little goofy, or guys fly over the cuckoo's nest.
World heavyweight boxing title on the line. The challenger is jabbing all over body, head, and right hand. The best punch of the fight so far. Champion Joe Louis. Look at the guy yawning. Jarring right hand that time, folks. Another one. Sonny wobbles. Sonny wobbles. And just had him hurt.
That round looked bad for someone, especially when he was putting on that flurries on Sonny. Something's wrong with play.
I see that, Joe. His eyes are bothering him.
There was something caustic in both eyes. Joe Polino had used Moncel solution on that cut. And my kid, sweating profusely, went into both eyes. Biggest fight of his life, and he's blind. He can't see.
Right eye. However, he's blinking badly. Sonny's going to try to pull it off. We know that Sonny flat-footed stands most of the time. Easy target. Easy. What do you think is going on in Sonny's mind at this point?
Sonny said, I can't lift my arm. And Willie said, well, it's another day. It's another time.
He's looking over my shoulder. He got up. We win.
They might be stopping it. That might be all, ladies and gentlemen.
There he was, right in front of me, pointing down to us. I told you exactly what I was going to do.
I must be the greatest. I told the world.
Changed the whole ball game, the whole innovation, made it a world sport.
There we go. All right, tell us this. All right, Cash.
Remember after the fight where he said, I'm pretty, and the reporter said, you're not that pretty. He said, I'm a bad man. I'll never forget that. Muhammad Ali, 50 years ago this week, became the world heavyweight champion. Next week, Friday Night Fights heads to Southern California as hard-hitting Rustam Nugayev squares off against Marvin Quintero in a lightweight battle. That's next week, live from the Pala Casino in San Diego, 9 Eastern on ESPN2. When we return, our fourth and final fight of the night from Boxcino 2014. Willie Monroe Jr. and Donatas Mondas square off at 161 pounds. We've already had 3 TKOs so far. Will we see another knockout next? Welcome back in the Horseshoe Casino here in Hammond, Indiana, as our Boxcino 2014 tournament continues. We're about to see our quarter-final bout here in the middleweight division. Our first fight tonight, Brandon Adams with a very impressive performance. He gets a stoppage when the Haitian-born fighter Daniel Edouard could not answer the bell to begin the 5th round. A great win for him. Put him on the canvas there in the 4th with a quick left hook to the nose. Edouard would get up, but as you can see here, could not answer the bell to start the 5th round. Our second fight, Sina Agbeko. A lot of hype, 15-0, 15 knockouts. He looked like a sure bet, but no. Regatika came out firing and never stopped throwing punches. And finally, his hard work paid off in the 4th round. Look at these shots. The referee stepped in and stopped it as Agbeko suffers his first professional defeat. And then the fight you just saw, Vitaly Kopolenko, very impressive, beating Cicero Fort in the 2nd round. Watch how quick this is. The bell rings, down goes Fort. He would get up, showed a lot of heart and courage, but eventually the Ukrainian was just too tough here tonight. Kopolenko may just win this Boxcino tournament. He looked that good tonight against Fort. So here's the way the Boxcino Championship looks right now. As you can see, the semifinals are all but set with just one fight to go. As we take a look at our Boxcino fighter bios, brought to you by 1800 Tequila. Coming up, 27-year-old Willie Monroe Jr. grew up around boxing. In fact, his great uncle beat marvelous Marvin Hagler. That's Willie the Worm Monroe. So Willie Monroe Jr. knows what boxing's all about. He knows how big this opportunity is tonight. In order to advance to the semifinals, he has to beat, out of Lithuania, Donatas Bondas. He started fighting as a child but had to hide it from his parents because they didn't want him boxing. Eventually, they saw how good he was and decided to support him 100%.
When I win this tournament, it would mean a lot to me because this is what I've been fighting for since I was 6 years old. My earliest memory of boxing is getting my lip busted by my grandfather. I had to be probably 4 or 5 years old. My grandfather, he used to wear rings, and he would play box with me, and then he hit me. My lip started bleeding. I started crying, but the thing that he liked about it is I saw the blood on my lip, and I jumped up and I fought harder. Amazing man. I lost him September 25th, 2013, not too long ago. My parents weren't fit at the time when I was born to take care of me, so my grandparents adopted me at a month old. He taught me everything. He taught me how to fish, how to garden. He taught me how to box. My family motivates me. Boxing is just, it runs in the blood. To see what my uncle did with Hagler, to see what my dad did in the 90s, it's motivation. And it gives me a personal confidence jump. Because, when I step in the ring with somebody, it's almost like, who are you? I'm Willie Monroe. You must not know my name. And if you don't know, you're about to find out.
So my father bring me to some big competition, and I saw it. It was so amazing. I need that. I want to be like those fighters. From 6 years old, I already dream about it. Always want to fight, to box. And when I came to the gym, that's it. I felt that this is my home, second home, Boxing is what I like the most and what I choose to be a boxer. Because most people, they live and they don't know why. What is the destiny for them, what they are. It's my destiny, and I'm very happy that I found it. I'm very, very focused and very ready, like mentally and physically. I was born to be a fighter.
Our Boxcino fighter bios are brought to you by 1800 Tequila. All right, 7 Boxcino matches in the book, 1 to go. Who will go to our semifinals in the middleweight division? Let's find out now, down to Joe and Teddy.
Todd, great to hear the determination with both guys. Great atmosphere surrounding our final quarterfinal matchup here as we look at Donatas Bondas, 34 years old, a Lithuanian who has been fighting out of this Chicago area after moving to the U.S. in 2009. 18 wins, 6 knockouts in his career, 5'9", just over 160. And Willie Monroe Jr., 5'10", 160 from upstate New York, 15-1 with 6 knockouts, a 5-year pro. Bondas would have to be considered a step up in class for Monroe. Teddy has the fight plan, brought to you by Corona Extra.
Well, let's start with Monroe. Control the outside, use your jab to keep him out, and a right hook. After all, you are a southpaw when he tries to come in. And for Bondas, he'll bring the pressure and bring a body attack with it.
These trunks are good. These trunks are a little high. Anything lands here is fair. All right? All right. When I say break, both of you quit punching, take a step back. All right? Touch gloves and good luck.
Joe, I think this is the most competitive fight on paper tonight. A lot of people are probably laughing back home. I know some of you, I know who's laughing, because they're probably saying, Teddy, give us more than that. I mean, nothing's been competitive so far, so I hope it's the most competitive. But on paper, before the night started, this one looked like the one that could go some rounds, the one that could have a little intrigue.
And it even looks more like that after seeing the first three, because Daniel Edward, obviously with the ring rust and coming out of retirement, no match. We get 3 straight TKOs. The Agbeko-Gatika fight, Teddy, probably looking back, should not have been a first-round matchup. Those two fighters probably should have been lower seeds against other fighters, would be my thought.
Yeah, I would agree with you. There should be more thought put into the process. And as you just said, into the ranking, the seeding of the fighters in a tournament like this, instead of just kind of like putting a line with a coconut.
Oh, I like how you brought it all back full circle.
Yeah, just mixing a lime with a coconut. There should be a little bit, maybe more thought about it. And I think this match was thought out a little better. Monroe's going to be on the outside. The boxer, the southpaw, using his legs a little bit. He looks good. You look at him, you know, he knows how to fight. He knows what he's doing. He has a good pedigree, obviously good bloodlines. You heard about that already. But doesn't always throw enough punches. And Bondas, well, he is what he is. He's a walk-in guy looking to bring pressure, looking to switch every once in a while to southpaw. Yeah, he'll do it once in a while. And he's going to look to attack that long, lean body if he can get close enough to Monroe.
He had a glancing right hand moments ago before he switched from orthodox to southpaw. Now he goes back orthodox.
Well, Bondas is missing something that he had, and it's probably a good thing he's missing it. The last time we saw him when he got stopped by Brian Vera in a very competitive fight, a fight that got stopped on cuts. He had a lot of scar tissue, a big hunk of scar tissue on the bridge of his nose, Bondas. He's had that removed, and I think that was a good thing.
We said early in that fight, this thing's a time bomb. This thing's gonna explode at some point with the scar tissue he came into that fight with, and sure enough, it was a bloody mess that night.
Doesn't mean there's not still a weakness there, but not as prominent, not as much of a target as it was before the surgery.
He's really trying to tee up that right hand, isn't he? As Bondas applies some pressure.
Yeah, Monroe, you get the idea, you know, you're seeing what you're seeing. Very defensive-minded. If there's a knock on him, I said it earlier, I'll say it again. Not busy enough, doesn't move those hands enough. Makes the moves, looks the part.
Let it go, let it go.
Needs to understand the part about the fighting, the throwing of the hands. Bondas understands that part. Doesn't have the skill set of Monroe, but has that determination, that aggressiveness.
Aggression that should carry this first round. Been enjoying middleweights here in our opening round of this Boxcino tournament. Of course, this group far shy of the best middleweights in the world, Teddy.
Yeah, there's a list, and I think it's an honest list. I think it's the right list from transnational middleweight rankings. The transnational rankings are the only ones I look at, the only ones I abide by. And as I said, the only ones I think the fans should abide by. They're honest, they come from a non-biased group of international writers. They do a good job. There's no conflict of interest. Ring Magazine, guess what? Big conflict of interest. The owner of Ring Magazine happens to be a promoter. So for me, transnational rankings, well, they're the ones that I trust. They're the ones I look at. And those middleweights they have ranked there, they're pretty good.
Sergio Martinez sitting atop. We'll be facing Miguel Cotto come late spring, early summer. Second round here. Final opening bout of Boxcino's 160-pound tournament. You see the jab now being applied a little more consistently from William Monroe. Bondas tries to get to the inside.
If you have good legs, like Monroe, and you like to stay on the outside, you want to stay on the outside, you want to control the outside. If you want to win the outside, you need to couple that jab with the legs. Monroe's coming out this round understanding that. Somebody got in his ear. Monroe's only loss, and this might be telling what I'm about to say, his only loss was a split decision to a 17-17 and-3 opponent. That might not be good.
Bonus boxing coverage will be coming your way tomorrow on ESPN 3, 5 o'clock Eastern. We're going to have the third meeting
the super middleweight title bout between Robert Stieglitz and Arthur Abraham. That's tomorrow, 5 Eastern on ESPN 3. Super middleweight title bout. Just log on the internet or your Watch ESPN app for that. Happy to bring it to you.
You know, we're so aware of the faster guy, the guy on the outside having to use the jab. Everyone knows that. Monroe's the man. But the guy coming forward, the slower man, the plodding man in this case, Bondas, the aggressive man, he needs to use that jab just as much, if not more, to get in on skate. Because if he doesn't jab on his way in, he gets picked off on the way in. Watch, right there. No jab from Bondas, or you see the hands of Monroe. You see a jab coming in from Bondas, you're going to see Monroe go defensive. And it's going to make it easier for Bondas to get in. As Bondas' head gets snapped back from that southpaw left hand from Monroe. The quicker man, the man having his way on the outside this round.
Much better round for Willie Monroe Jr. Tonight's foolproof punch of the night brought to you by Just for Men. It came from Brandon Adams in our first fight of the night against Daniel Edwards.
Yeah, it's a left hook, a quick left hook. Take a look at this next shot. Look at the eyes of Edward. They're closed. Guess what? Your eyes need to be open so you see what's coming. I know you don't like what's coming, but you got to see what's coming. That left hook did extra damage because the eyes of Monroe were closed. I should say the eyes of Edward were closed. Monroe's eyes were very open that last round.
Willie Monroe Jr. in action here in the 3rd round of our quarterfinal matchup against Donatas Bondas. Daniel Edward would bow out after receiving that punch of the night. Brandon Adams would be the first to advance to the Boxcino middleweight semifinals. And now the last spot to be filled here between Monroe, the boxer, and Bondas, the pressure fighter. Here's that jab from the southpaw again. He's trying to keep Bondas away. Bondas gets to the inside, and they tie up to be separated by Bill Page. Staying at range, utilizing that southpaw jab. Bondas trying to close in, and Monroe able to get out of the way again.
Again, I talk about it every week, Joe, and there's a reason for it. It's important. You know, talk about location, about geography. Whoever understands where their location in the ring should be, their geography should be, and gets to that place and controls that place more, usually wins the fight. The last 2 rounds, it's been Monroe, understanding he needs to be on the outside, needs to do work on the outside. And Bondas, other than the first round, has not gotten to where he wants to be, in close. You know, Monroe's given opportunities for Bondas by setting himself near those ropes, but Bondas needs to close that gap like he is right here.
Just made a decision to do so, and that's the warning that Bill Page was talking about.
Listen to me.
So a second warning as he admonishes Bondas for hitting while they're tied up, and Page is looking for the break.
I think it's for more that he thinks he's hitting behind the head. Because you're allowed to hit on the inside. I hope the referee understands that.
Right, well,
as long as you have a hand free.
Moments prior, he did talk to him about that he wanted him to be careful when they're tied up on the inside and he's coming in for the break.
What Bondas has to do is use that jab. I said it the last round, like that. Use the jab to make Monroe defensive-minded. Then get in, but then when you get in, stay in, keep your hands free, and work. Don't get tied up. Not if you're Bondas.
As the middleweight quarterfinals come to an end here on Friday Night Fights, we remind you that the semifinals take place next March 28 with the lightweights going at it at the Four Bears Casino in Newtown, North Dakota. Then the winners of tonight will face each other on April 18th at the Turning Stone Casino in Verona, but we've still got some unfinished business with Joe and Teddy in the ring.
We do. We're trying to round out the semifinals for the middleweight version of Boxcino. The April 18th up in Turning Stone in upstate New York, those semifinals. Will it be Bondis or will it be William Monroe Jr. returning to upstate New York to fight in the semis?
I said if Bondis wants to win this fight, he's got to press behind the jab, not just be aggressive. And he's starting to do that the last 2 rounds. Now, what he needs to couple with that, add to that, maybe move your head wouldn't be a bad idea instead of getting caught with that left hand from the southpaw. But what he really needs to add to pressing behind the jab is cutting the ring down. When Monroe starts to get on that bike, important for Bondis to cut it down. Move like a linebacker in football, parallel, down the ring, across. Make that ring smaller. Don't follow him around.
Go to the body, right there.
29-28, Bondis says Teddy. And you, the fans at home on Facebook, Bondis 2 rounds to 1.
2 different mindsets. Monroe of the defensive mindset, Bondis of
Let it go.
the aggressive.
Yet
But
to
again,
have a decision tonight.
Yeah, it's got to be effective aggression, though, Joe. You don't win fights only on aggression.
Don't hold him. Let it go. You're holding him. You're holding him.
Now, this is where Bondis, again, I talked about location, about geography. That's his location for Bondis. Needs to do more on the inside.
Monroe getting away from the jab for a moment here, and that's Bondis' game squared up on the inside a little more.
I don't mind this, because Monroe, he's got to show that he's a fighter. He's going to win this fight. He's got to make a stand in the sand or in the canvas at some point. Why not make it a little bit right here? Then go back to the outside, and the outside will be a little easier for you, because you would have gained his respect.
And that's what he chose to do in the middle portion of this 4th round. Now jabbing a little more. Just trying to work his way in with that right hand to the body. And he pushes off with the forearm.
Talked about the cut over the nose of Bondis. He was also cut over his left eye 2 fights ago. Matter of fact, he's been cut over his left eye several times. So far, no problem. Talked about location. You can't have location if you don't have good feet. Monroe using those good feet to get that good location on the outside. Right here, he's got the range he wants. But what he needs to do, Monroe, is let those hands go at that range. You don't let those hands go when you got the range. And as I said, you have the location. Well, guess what? A guy like Bondis, he'll come in.
Time out. Neutral corner. You all right?
We're going to take time here for the low blow.
All right. You're hitting him bad low, man. You hit him 3 times low. Get him up. All right. Time in. Box.
Yeah, but there were 3 easy ones. 3 taps. No hard ones.
One man's tap is another man's soprano.
Yes, that could be true. And speaking of soprano, what level did you think my singing was?
I'm not going to give a full review on your singing.
Thank you.
But it was courageous. Is that a euphemism for other things I could say?
No, I get it.
This is the first 5th round we've seen here tonight in Boxcino's middleweight tournament. Teddy, you said earlier you liked this matchup. You thought on paper it would play as the best matchup with the different styles, and so far that has been the case. We had TKO wipeouts earlier, and here we are in round 5.
Yeah, I think this will come down to the wire. I mean, it'll come down to a tight decision. And again, it'll come down to who's working more in their place of work. You know, is it Bondis and tight, or is it Monroe on the outside. And one thing Monroe has to be explained to in his corner, you're not going to win just by having the outside. You have to do some punching when you have the outside. And he's not doing that right now.
Reminder that Sports Center will follow Friday Night Fights. Sports Center coming up as soon as we finish things here. And it's Bondas and Monroe. Just a round and a half to go here to try to fill out the semifinals in Boxcino's middleweight tournament. Well, Bill Page, the referee, has had a lot of work to do between these two.
Did you think that was low? I mean, I'm curious to see the replay. For me, I wasn't sure that was low.
There's a right hand from Bondas. Monroe once again trying to hold his ground a little more here in the midst of round 5. Chicken wing that jab out. Bondas tried to make him pay the price, and Monroe turns to the corner.
You know, we saw in the piece some nice pieces done on these fighters so you can get to know them as people and understand where they're coming from. Monroe was very emotional, talking about his family. I know also someone else he lost was his former manager, Johnny Boz. Last year, Johnny Boz, important to Monroe and to a lot of fighters. He was a tremendous matchmaker and actually one of the great characters in boxing.
They will have one round to go to decide it. Who will advance? ESPN Friday Night Fights is presented by Corona Extra, who invites you to find your beach. And in part by KFC, so many ways to KFC. How do you KFC? And Alka-Seltzer Fruit Chews for fast heartburn relief. It's been a good night here at the Horseshoe Casino in Hammond, Indiana, not far from Chicago. This was the warning for the low blow.
Yeah,
that was right on the belt.
Blow. That's on the belt line, and I don't think that Bondas should have been yelled at quite as much as he was for that punch, but I get it because earlier on there were low blows. The referee had it in his mind.
6th and final round. One of these men will advance as there's an uppercut landed by Willie Monroe Jr. here early on against Bondas. You made the point earlier. It's easy to see. You got the boxer on one side, the southpaw Monroe, against the aggressor in Bondas, and sometimes that can be hard to judge. And this is one of those fights. You give credit to Monroe and what he's been able to do with keep away and jab work and at times being aggressive, or the constant stream of Bondas. You have it 49-46 for the more obvious aggressive fighter. Facebook sees it the other way. They favor the boxer 3 rounds to 2, but it's one of those fights. Which what are you seeing with the styles meshing?
No, I agree. You can see this fight, you know, through 2 different prisms.
Total punches heavily favoring Bondas in terms of work rate, throwing 359, landing just a few more.
You got it? Yeah. Box.
Little subtle things Bondas is doing. Every once in a while he'll turn southpaw, you know, right after an exchange. And that can really confuse a fighter, in this case Monroe, because 1 minute you got a guy in front of you in one stance, the next he's in another stance, and the punches are coming from a different position. This is what Bondas needs to do. If he's gonna grab this round, if he's gonna close the show, at least on my scorecards, he needs to press forward and then again work when he gets inside. Don't just get inside. And the same thing can be said for Monroe, Joe, in the opposite way. You know, get on the outside, but don't just exist on the outside. Work on the outside.
You know, there was that moment earlier in this round where Bondas went over and was dealing with his corner for a moment, much like a fighter would deal with a mouthpiece, except his mouthpiece was in. There was nothing to retrieve. And the word we're getting from ringside is that he extracted a tooth, a loose tooth from his own mouth, and threw it out. Now we're going to take a look here and see if that's the case. But I think we've got it on tape, Teddy, here, where he did his own dental work in the middle of a round. Now, we've seen everything through the years, but we've never seen that.
Oh, that's old school.
I mean, the man is pulling his own tooth out in the middle of a fight.
Yeah, that's hardcore stuff. He should get a round just for that. Especially if it's a close round. somebody at home that's watching this should call his dentist. Get him ready.
Final rally here. Who's going to take it home? Wide swing right hand. That was Perry. That was a good fight. Well matched, as you said it would be. By far the best matchup on paper we saw tonight. And we will see which way it goes.
We're going to see how it goes. We don't know yet.
All right, let's show you what happened with Bondis there in the 6th round. Yeah, there it is.
It looks like a molar. I think that's...
I don't know if that's a cap or a fake tooth or what it is, but he took a tooth out of his mouth and threw it in the middle of a round with his glove.
Yeah, love to be this guy's dentist.
Yeah. So a little dental work and some boxing mixed in together. As Boxcino's 160-pound quarterfinal round is completed, we simply wait to find out which fighter has advanced, Willie Monroe Jr. or Donatas Bondis. We had 3 TKO victories with our first 3 fights tonight, as Adams, Gatica, and Kapelenko all advanced. If we do have a draw here, they will have a 1-round draw breaker, but we understand,
yeah,
we are being told that we do have a decision as they are untaping the gloves.
Yep.
So for that decision, we will go up to the ring and find out who advances in Boxcino's middleweight tournament. And it is Ray Flores who has the answer here at the Horseshoe.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 6 rounds of action, we go to the scorecards. Here are your score totals. Judge Nathan Palmer scores the contest 58-56, and judges Gary Merritt and Eric Burris have the contest the same 59-55 for your winner by unanimous decision. And moving on to the semifinals of the Boxcino 2014 middleweight tournament, Willie El Mongoose Monroe Jr.
So the 3 judges favoring the boxing work of Willie Monroe over the aggression of Donatas Bondis. And Willie Monroe Jr. has now won 6 straight since the lone loss of his career. He will advance to face the undefeated Vitaly Kapelenko in the semifinals on April 18th. Send it to Todd Grisham.
Welcome back here to the Horseshoe Casino. The Boxcino quarterfinals are in the books. 4 fights down tonight here in the middleweight division. Let's take a look at our middleweight bracket brought to you by 1800 Tequila. With his win, Willie Monroe Jr. advances to face a very tough out in Vitaly Kapelenko. That fight will be a semifinal fight as well as Adams versus Gatica. How about the lightweights? Their quarterfinal bouts were last week. They'll square off 4 weeks from tonight in North Dakota. Rudd versus Petrov, Gonzalez versus Carcamo. Again, 4 weeks from tonight in North Dakota. It's the Boxcino semifinals from the lightweight division. As for us next week, we head to lovely Southern California as hard-hitting Rustam Nugayev squares off against Marvin Quintero. That's March 7th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN 2. That'll do it from here at the Horseshoe Casino. Boxcino 14 rolls on. 3 knockouts tonight and a fantastic 4th and final fight, which went the distance. For Joe Tessitore, Teddy Atlas, and Bernardo Osuna, as well as our entire Friday Night Fights crew, I'm Todd Grisham. SportsCenter is next.